In secret corners of the planet exist creatures that seem straight out of an impossible dream. Gigantic felines that combine the strength of a lion with the elegance of a tiger, horses with interrupted stripes that defy any natural painting, and even bears that inherit the ferocity of the grizzly and the resilience of the polar bear. Each cross tells a story of mystery, power, and strangeness. Today, you'll discover 15 hybrids so surprising that they'll challenge what you thought you knew about the animal kingdom. Number 1. The liger in the vast animal kingdom. There are creatures that don't seem to fully belong to reality, but rather to a blurry border between nature and legend. Among them stands the liger, the most monumental hybrid ever conceived by the union of species. It is born when a male lion crosses with a tigress, and the result is a feline of such colossal dimensions that it surpasses both parents in size. It's no exaggeration. Some specimens have reached over 4 meters in length and surpassed 400 kilograms in weight, making them the largest felines on the planet. Now, the fascinating thing isn't just its size. Unlike lions, which usually live in prides, and tigers, which are solitary hunters, the liger exhibits intermediate behavior. It can enjoy the company of other individuals, but it also maintains that independent air inherited from the tigress. Furthermore, it has a peculiar relationship with water. While lions tend to avoid submerging themselves, tigers are known swimmers, and the liger seems inclined to follow its mother's aquatic footsteps. Cases have been recorded of individuals enjoying bathing in lakes or pools, a trait that makes them even more surprising. Moreover, its fur is a mosaic that reveals the legacy of both worlds. The golden base of the lion mixes with the fainter stripes of the tigress, creating unique patterns that are not repeated in any two individuals. This hybrid, however, can only exist in captivity, as in nature, its parents would never spontaneously coincide. This condition makes it an exceptional, almost secret being, whose existence depends entirely on human intervention. In this way, the liger not only impresses with its enormous size, but also with the paradox it represents. A giant born from the crossing of two realms that would never meet in the wild. 2. The tigon. However, not every hybrid between lions and tigers results in colossal giants. There is also the tigon, the inverted reflection of the liger, as it is born from the cross between a male tiger and a lioness. Although it shares similar parents, the result is radically different, demonstrating that in genetics, combinations are never simple mirrors. Unlike its gigantic cousin, the tigon is much smaller. In fact, it rarely exceeds the size of an average tiger, and is sometimes even lighter than a lioness. This particularity makes it a surprising hybrid, because the expected outcome would be the strength of a tiger, combined with the robustness of the lioness. But nature, in its complexity, decided otherwise. The tigon is proof that genes don't add up like puzzle pieces, but rather negotiate unpredictable results. As for its appearance, it's a spectacle in itself. Its body usually displays a striking mix of stripes and spots. The tiger's stripes are sometimes superimposed with shadows, reminiscent of a lion cub's spotted coat. It's as if it wears on its skin a canvas painted with memories of both lineages. Furthermore, some specimens develop a mane, although it is much shorter and more discreet than a lion's. But what is most intriguing is its character. While the liger tends to inherit some sociability, the tigon appears more reserved, with behaviors that oscillate between the stealth of the tiger and the social discipline of the lioness. It is an animal full of contrasts, halfway between two natures that rarely coincide. Thus, the tigon is not just the inverse of the liger, but a reminder that every hybrid opens a range of unexpected possibilities, where biology plays at creating unique and unrepeatable variations. 3. The zebrasno, or zedonk. After exploring the feline contrast between the liger and the tigon, the journey through the strangest hybrids now takes us to a completely different territory, that of the equids. There we find the zebrasno, also known as zedonk, a creature that looks like it came out of an artistic experiment where someone decided to combine the robust body of a donkey with the unmistakable stripes of a zebra. Its appearance is unsettling. At first glance, it could be mistaken for a common donkey, but one only needs to look at its legs or part of its back to discover those black stripes that emerge as a reminder of its wild heritage. The curious thing is that not all specimens have the same markings. In some, the stripes cover almost the entire body, while in others, they barely appear on the limbs. This variability makes it a hybrid full of surprises, where each individual has its own design. Beyond its appearance, the zebrasno also reflects the personality of its parents. On the one hand, it inherits the donkey's resilience and strength for work, qualities that have made it valuable in rural areas. On the other, it receives a nervous and difficult to domesticate temperament from the zebra. This mix makes it a practical animal in some contexts, but unpredictable in its daily handling. What is truly striking is that this hybrid is not a new creation. Zebrasnos have been recorded for centuries, especially in regions where donkeys and zebras lived near human settlements. However, their reproduction does not occur naturally in the open savanna, as the territorial behavior of zebras makes a spontaneous encounter with donkeys improbable. Thus, the zebrasno is a fascinating example of how the union of the domestic and the wild can give rise to a being that seems to walk between two worlds, half a laborious human companion and half an untamed symbol of African nature. 4. The zorse. After learning about the zebrasno, which unites the strength of the donkey with the stripes of the zebra, it is inevitable to take the next step and talk about the zorse, another equine hybrid that takes crossbreeding to an even more impactful level. In this case, the cross occurs between a zebra and a horse, resulting in an animal that combines the elegance and musculature of the horse with the unmistakable striped pattern of its wild relative. The appearance of the zorse is often surprising because no two specimens are alike. Some have stripes that run along their entire body, while others show barely a trace of stripes on the neck, back, or legs. The base color also varies depending on the horse parent's breed. It can be brown, black, or even white, which makes each zorse a kind of unrepeatable work of art painted by nature. However, its beauty is accompanied by a complex character. Horses domesticated for millennia are usually docile and adaptable. Zebras, on the other hand, are distrustful and very difficult to tame. The zorse's temperament is born from this mix: a nervous animal with unpredictable reactions and an energy difficult to contain. Precisely for this reason, although they might appear to serve as mounts, in practice they are not as manageable as a common horse. Another important detail is its infertility. As is the case with most hybrids between closely related species, the zorse inherits incompatible chromosomes that prevent it from reproducing. This means that each specimen is a unique case, born from a one-time cross and not from a stable line of descent. In short, the zorse is a living paradox, majestic and striking like few others, but at the same time limited by its temperament and sterility. A creature that reminds us that, although science and breeding can play with genetics, nature always sets its own conditions. 5. The kama. After traversing the universe of equine hybrids like the zebrasno and the zorse, the route now takes us to a completely different lineage: the camelids. Here appears the kama, a cross that unites the imposing strength of the camel with the docility and smaller size of the llama. This hybrid is not the result of chance, but of deliberate human intervention, and its story begins in Dubai, where it was created with a very specific purpose. The idea behind the kama was seemingly simple, but ambitious in practice: to obtain an animal that could inherit the camel's desert resistance and carrying capacity, but without its difficult and sometimes aggressive temperament. At the same time, it sought the meekness and more docile character of the llama, an animal traditionally used as a working companion in the Andes. The result was a peculiar and fascinating being. Unlike the camel, the kama does not have a hump, which gives it an appearance closer to that of a robust llama. However, it retains the resistant skin and the ability to survive in arid environments, thanks to the camel's heritage. Its size is somewhere in the middle, larger than a llama, but quite a bit smaller than a camel, which facilitates its handling. As for its character, breeders discovered that it is indeed a more docile animal than a camel, although it doesn't lose a certain natural distrust. Furthermore, it can produce wool, like the llama, albeit of lower quality. This makes it a versatile hybrid designed to take advantage of the best of two worlds that, under normal conditions, would never meet. 6. The beefalo. If the comma was born as an attempt to improve work in extreme environments, the next hybrid leads us to the realm of food. We are talking about the beefalo, a creature that arises from the cross between the domestic cow and the American bison, and which represents one of the most ambitious experiments in the history of modern livestock farming. The intention was clear: to combine the hardiness and strength of the bison with the docility and high meat production of the cow. Bison are imposing animals, capable of resisting harsh winters and adapting to poor pastures, but their wild nature makes them difficult to handle. Cows, on the other hand, have been domesticated for millennia and produce meat efficiently, although they lack the resilience of their wild relatives. The beefalo brings these two advantages together in a single animal. It possesses more defined musculature than the cow, with leaner meat and less fat, but at the same time maintains a more manageable temperament than the bison. In fact, one of its main attractions is that it offers meat considered healthier, with less cholesterol and higher protein content, which made it an interesting alternative in the meat market. Its appearance is also unique. They usually have the robust body of a bison, but with softened features reminiscent of the cow, such as the shape of the head or the texture of the coat. Furthermore, unlike other hybrids, the beefalo is not always sterile, which allowed for the development of stable populations and large-scale breeding, especially in the United States. 7. The savanna cat. After traversing the pastures where the imposing beefalo emerges, the journey takes us to a much more intimate setting: the home. There appears a hybrid that combines the domestic with the wild in a surprising way: the savanna cat, born from the cross between a domestic cat and the African serval, a wild feline with long legs and giant ears. The result is an animal that at first glance looks like a mini living room leopard. Its body is larger and more slender than that of a common cat, and its coat is covered in dark spots reminiscent of the felines of the savannah. In fact, it is considered one of the largest domestic cats in the world. Some specimens can reach up to 40 centimeters in height and weigh more than twice that of a traditional cat. The curious thing is that, despite its wild appearance, the savanna cat maintains a strong connection with humans. It is an extremely loyal animal that can follow its owner around the house and develop bonds as close as those of a dog. At the same time, it retains some of the serval's independent and energetic character, making it a playful, active companion with a great need for space to explore. Another detail that makes it unique is its capacity for learning. Many savanna cats can be trained to walk on a leash, open doors, or even play fetch, skills not usually found in common cats. However, caring for them is not easy. They require constant attention and stimulation, because their intelligence and energy can become a challenge for those expecting a quiet feline. 8. The wolf dog. After learning about the savanna cat, which brings the wildness of the savanna indoors, the journey leads us to a hybrid equally close to daily life, but much more challenging: the wolf dog, the result of the union between the wolf and the dog. This cross, bred by humans in different parts of the world, is an example of how the boundary between the wild and the domestic can become blurred and at times dangerous. The wolf dog inherits the loyalty and certain capacity for coexistence from the dog, but it also retains the hunting instinct, distrust, and strength of the wolf. This mix makes it an animal of striking beauty, with a presence that fully recalls a wolf, but with gestures and expressions that evoke the dog that has accompanied humans for millennia. The curious thing is that its character depends largely on the percentage of genetic heritage it has from each parent. Some specimens with more dog blood can be docile, playful, and even affectionate, while others, with a greater genetic load from the wolf, are unpredictable, timid, and not very tolerant of human contact. For this reason, it is not recommended as a pet for everyone. Caring for a wolf dog requires knowledge, patience, and a controlled environment. Furthermore, its abilities are notable. They possess a superior sense of smell and physical endurance than a common dog, which makes them fascinating animals for those seeking a unique companion. However, those same qualities can turn them into a challenge. They need ample spaces, constant exercise, and mental stimulation to prevent their instincts from dominating them. 9. The coy wolf. After exploring the wolf dog, a hybrid created and controlled by humans, we take a leap towards a phenomenon that occurs without artificial intervention. The coy wolf. This curious animal is born from the union between the coyote and the wolf and has become an increasingly common inhabitant in various regions of North America. Its appearance is a natural response to environmental changes. The expansion of cities and the reduction of wild habitat have pushed wolves and coyotes to share territories, which has favored their crossing. The result is a hybrid with the best of both worlds: the cunning and adaptability of the coyote, along with the strength and resilience of the wolf. The coy wolf has an intermediate appearance that baffles those who see it for the first time. It is larger and more robust than a coyote, but more agile and lighter than a wolf. Its howls also reveal the fusion, a song that doesn't sound entirely like a wolf, nor completely like a coyote, but like a new voice in the chorus of nature. The most fascinating thing is its ability to adapt to urban environments. Unlike the wolf, which avoids contact with humans, the coy wolf has been seen roaming the outskirts of cities, exploring garbage dumps, or moving through parks in search of food. This ability to coexist near civilization without losing its wild essence has made it a symbol of biological resilience. Unlike many hybrids, coy wolves are fertile. This means that their population is not only maintained but grows and diversifies, generating a unique lineage that could play an important role in the future of North American ecosystems. 10. The Naluga Narval Beluga. After learning about the coy wolf, a hybrid that patrols the forests and even the cities of North America, the journey now plunges into icy waters. There, in the fjords of Greenland, a creature was documented that seems born from a polar tail: the Narluga, a descendant of the mythical narwhal, and the friendly beluga. The narwhal is famous for its long, twisted tusk, a kind of sea unicorn that has inspired legends for centuries. The beluga, on the other hand, is known as the canary of the sea for its vocalizations and its rounded forehead, which gives it a friendly and curious air. When these two species cross, the result is a disconcerting hybrid, with a skull that combines the asymmetrical tusk of the narwhal with the wider, bulbous forehead of the beluga. The extraordinary thing is that it is not a myth. Research in Greenland has found skeletal remains that confirm the existence of at least one Narluga individual. Its teeth showed a unique pattern. Instead of the narwhal's solitary tusk, it presented a series of spiral teeth, as if nature had tried to mix the two formulas without fully deciding. Although no live specimens have been seen recently, analyses suggest that the Narluga may have survived in coastal communities, swimming in Arctic seas and feeding on bottom fish, a behavior closer to that of belugas than narwhals. Its mere existence expands the map of what is possible in the animal kingdom, reminding us that even in the coldest waters, life reinvents itself with unexpected combinations. 11. The Pizzly Bear, or Growler Bear. From the icy depths where the mysterious Narluga dwells, the journey now takes us to the Arctic tundra, a setting where climate change is forging unexpected encounters. There emerges the Pizzly Bear, also called the Growler Bear, a hybrid born from the cross between the polar bear and the grizzly bear. Its existence is not the result of laboratories or zoos, but of the planet's own transformation. The retreat of sea ice forces polar bears to venture further and further inland, while grizzlies, with their exploratory nature, move north in search of new opportunities. This overlap of territories has created the conditions for the two species to cross. The result is an animal that combines the resilience of the polar bear with the adaptability of the grizzly. The Pizzly Bear has an intermediate and disconcerting appearance. Its fur is neither as white as the polar bear's nor as dark as the grizzly's. It usually has a cream or light brown tone, with longer legs and a robust body. Furthermore, it inherits the ability to hunt on land, and at the same time retains the capacity to swim long distances, which gives it an advantage against the changes in its environment. The most striking thing is that, Unlike many hybrids, Pizzly bears are fertile. This means that these are not isolated encounters, but could give rise to a stable population in the future. In a way, they are a living reflection of life's adaptation to the changing climate. 12. The Holphin. After following the Pizzly bear's tracks in the tundra, the journey changes scenery and plunges us into temperate seas, where cetaceans also hide surprising crosses. There appears the Holphin, an extremely rare hybrid that arises from the encounter between a male false killer whale and a female bottlenose dolphin. At first glance, the Holphin looks like a large dolphin, but with unusual features that betray its origin. Its skin is darker than that of a common dolphin, though not as black as the false killer whales. Its head and dorsal fin show an intermediate shape, as if nature had mixed both silhouettes without fully deciding. The most surprising thing about this hybrid is that, despite the unlikelihood of their crossing, Holphins are fertile. In fact, cases have been recorded in captivity of specimens that have gone on to reproduce with dolphins, thus expanding the lineage of this singular cross. However, its existence in the wild is practically impossible because the habitats and social behaviors of both species rarely coincide. The Holphins known so far have been born in marine facilities, where the forced coexistence between different species makes possible what would be a rarity in the open oceans. One of the most famous lived in Hawaii and became a unique attraction, showing the world that even among large marine mammals, there are combinations that defy logic. Its character is equally curious. They possess the playful intelligence of dolphins, but also a strength and size reminiscent of the false killer whale. This mix makes them extraordinary animals, albeit difficult to maintain outside of controlled conditions. 13. The Jaglion. Leaving behind the oceans where the extremely rare Holphin swims, we return to dry land to encounter a hybrid that belongs to the world of great predators. This is the Jaglion, born from the cross between a jaguar and a lioness, a hybrid so enigmatic that it has only been recorded in captivity, mainly in zoos. The Jaglion possesses an appearance that immediately draws attention. Its fur is darker than a lioness's, with an intense brown or even blackish tone, upon which the spots inherited from the jaguar appear. This contrast creates a unique visual pattern, as if the animal were wearing a shadow suit splashed with light. Furthermore, its body combines the compact, powerful musculature of the jaguar with the more stylized silhouette of the lioness, which gives it an elegant but intimidating presence. The fascinating thing about the Jaglion is not only its appearance, but also the way it emerged. Unlike the Liger, or the Tigon, hybrids better known by tradition, the Jaglion is extremely rare. It is born only in zoos, where these species coincide by human decision, since in nature, their territories do not overlap. The humid jungle inhabited by the jaguar is far from the African savannas of the lioness, which makes this cross impossible outside of captivity. As for its character, records suggest that they can inherit both the fierceness of the jaguar and the sociability of the lioness. However, since they are so scarce, little is known about their long-term behavior. The truth is that their mere existence opens a window to genetic diversity and the whims of biology when humans provoke encounters that nature would never allow. 14. The Leopon. After learning about the Jaglion, that enigmatic cross between a jaguar and a lioness, the journey through feline hybrids takes us to another even rarer specimen, the Leopon. This animal arises from the encounter between a male leopard and a lioness, a cross so strange that it has only been recorded on a handful of occasions within zoos and breeding centers. Its appearance is disconcerting because it doesn't entirely conform to what we would expect. The Leopon has a longer and lower body than a lion, a clear inheritance from its leopard father, while its size is intermediate without reaching the majesty of the king of the savannah. Its skin, however, looks like a hybrid canvas. It retains the golden base of the lioness, but is covered by dark spots, sometimes more diffuse than those of a pure leopard. This pattern makes it a unique feline, with an appearance halfway between the familiar and the fantastic. The most curious thing is that despite the rarity of its existence, the Leopon confirms something fascinating. The genetics of great felines are close enough to allow viable crosses, although nature would never bring them together on its own. Leopards are solitary hunters with stealthy habits, while lionesses live in prides that depend on cooperation. Hence, the Leopon's character is at an intermediate point, with moments of sociability and others of marked independence. Like many feline hybrids, it is usually sterile, which means that each specimen is an isolated, unrepeatable case, the result of a single cross and not of a hereditary line. This condition makes it a rarity within zoology, almost a collector's creature. 15. The hinny. After traversing the territory of great feline hybrids like the Leopon, the journey leads us to animals much closer to humans, the equids. And here appears a little-known cross, overshadowed by the popularity of its relative, the mule. This is the hinny, the result of the union between a male horse and a female donkey, Jenny. At first glance, many confuse it with the mule, but the hinny has distinguishing features that make it recognizable. Its body tends to be more compact, with shorter legs and a slightly larger head in proportion, inherited from the Jenny. However, it retains the musculature and elegant presence of the horse. This combination makes it a hybrid with a peculiar appearance, almost like a more rustic and discreet version of its famous relative. In terms of temperament, the hinny is usually more stubborn than the mule. It is attributed a strong, less docile, and more independent character, which has limited its popularity compared to the mule, widely used as a pack animal. Furthermore, as is the case with most hybrids between equid species, the hinny is sterile. This condition makes it a unique specimen, unable to perpetuate its lineage and entirely dependent on human intervention to exist. The interesting thing is that the biology behind the hinny and the mule is the same, but the result is surprisingly different. While the mule combines the best of the male donkey and the female horse, mare, the hinny reverses the roles and gives rise to a hybrid with very different proportions and attitudes. It is a perfect example of how genetics does not always respond symmetrically, and how the simple change of parents can completely alter the final result.